What's going on, everybody? I wanted to go through and do a quick review of two different pads, both the Pulsar Hyperion in soft, as well as the Kurosun Shogun. So starting out with the Pulsar Hyperion, this pad comes in at 490 by 420 and it's 4 millimeters thick. Stitching wise, I've noticed on most of the lethal pads lately, especially whenever it's kind of just the base standard line, that on this side, whenever they're finishing up the stitching, that there's a little bit of fraying. Really, overall, whenever we talk about the stitching, I mean, it's very tight, and I mean, the stitching is solid, but I have noticed that on the typical standard pads that there is a little bit of fraying up here whenever that stitch closes. For the base, the Hyperion has a soft, slim flex base, which is essentially just the new name for Poron. Overall, in using this pad for a couple weeks now, it really kind of just falls in a weird spot for me. As someone who loves hybrid pads or the typical hybrid surface feel, for a balance pad, I just don't get the performance that I'm really looking for. I mean, I've tried a lot of different skates on this pad and nothing really gives me the control and consistency that I want from a pad. And for those that use dot skates, it does sink into the pad with enough force. So, I mean, using something like, I mean, this is probably not a very good example, but if I use like a smaller mouse like the Hyperlight, any amount of force, you can start hearing that scratching. I mean, it's not hitting the skates, it's sinking down and just scratching up against the mouse. I personally haven't really had an issue with my mice sinking in. I feel like lately I haven't really been using a whole lot of downforce into the pad. I've really been playing light enough where it's mostly on the surface, so I haven't had a whole lot of issues with that, but I know for some that might be an issue. One of the other things that I wanted to mention as well is, I mean, because the pad is built and created to be a balance pad, it definitely has a good amount of speed. I feel like it's definitely closer to the speed side of the spectrum. It just has less control than I would prefer. I mean, using this pad again for a couple of weeks, it's in a weird spot where, I mean, it does offer a good amount of speed, but I just don't really feel like I get a whole lot of control back from the pad. To be fair, I mean, using glass pads, I feel like I'm getting more stopping power and just overall consistency. So whenever I'm getting that from a glass pad and I'm not getting that on cloth, it's just, I don't know. It's just, to me, it's just in a weird spot for me. I perform okay. I just didn't get the control and consistency that I want from a pad like this. So personally, it wasn't my favorite. I know there's plenty of other people that have said they really love this pad, but personally, it just didn't really hit the mark for me personally. What did hit the mark is the Kurosun Shogun. So this pad comes in at 490 by 420 and it's also 4 millimeters thick. Stitching is solid across the board. There's no fraying, anything at all like that on this pad. The pad still has a soft base, but it's not as soft as the Hyperion. It doesn't have as much of a plush feel as it does like using something like the Hyperion. It's still soft, but you have to put a little bit more force into the pad to be able to get that soft feeling. So it doesn't have like a very super plush feel for a typical soft base. Surface wise, it reminds me of the Riz in terms of the smoothness of the glide. It's not the same by any means. I think I really enjoy the Riz, but the Riz has a fuzzy texture whenever you're using that pad, and this doesn't have that fuzzy feeling on this pad. It does, I mean, the surface definitely gets debris and stuff literally everywhere on the pad. I honestly feel like my biggest issue with this pad is just whenever I have like any performance issues, it's literally just because I'm like, all right, I have to like wipe my pad off. Outside of like the pad just getting a ton of stuff on it, performance wise, this is one of my favorite control pads I have ever used, hands down. I mean, the performance is just incredibly solid. Whenever it comes down to the 3 pads that they've released with the Ninja, the Samurai, and now the Shogun, to me, like personally, I would put the Samurai last, but the Shogun and the Ninja, especially the Ninja V2, are tied for me. It is really hard for me to choose like which one I would pick out of the two, but whenever you have a control pad that is this soft, whenever you have a control pad like this that doesn't have a whole lot of texture and it's just super smooth, this pad is incredibly comfortable to use, and being able to have the amount of control and just a comfortable glide at the same time is just perfection. Being able to play like this pad gives me the control and the consistency that I'm looking for. There are times that, depending on the skates, I've noticed specifically as it comes to the Aether control skates, that it does feel a little too slow at times, but that's really just dependent on the skates that I'm using. Overall, I mean, the pad itself just performs incredibly well. I've personally enjoyed using Obsidians, Jades, and Silver Foxes for Fortnite, Apex, COD, the finals, rivals, like literally anything that I've been playing. I have been using this pad a lot, and I'm probably going to continue to use this pad a lot because it performs incredibly well. And I mean, there are times whenever you're playing that, not necessarily target switching, I don't have any issues with that. Sometimes, again, depending on the skates, the micro adjusting can feel a little off, but I feel like that's really just because of the skates, not because of the pad. Again, I mean, using skates like Obsidians, Jades, Silver Foxes, all 3 of those really just make this pad shine. And I had a conversation with someone on X a couple weeks back. He had mentioned that he was only using a wall hack 4.0. And I mean, using a wall hack and only a wall hack, only being on glass and asking, hey, you know, I'm on a glass pad, I'm wanting to go all the way down to a control pad. This is the closest that you're going to be able to get. And it's not going to be as open as glass, but just the comfort of the glide, the smoothness of this pad is the closest that you're going to be able to get going from glass all the way down to a control pad like this. So like I said, I've really enjoyed using this pad. If you have any other questions regarding either pad, feel free to throw them in the comment section down below, and I will catch you all next time. Start a riot.